You wake up in the middle of the night, and the ghost is sitting at the foot of your bed. The ghost isn't a dead relative. It isn't a monster. It is the life you didn't live. It is the career you didn't choose, the man you didn't marry, the risk you didn't take. And it whispers one question that haunts every woman over 50. What if? Welcome to the Midlife Reset Manual. We are going to walk through the valley of shadow today, the valley of regret. It is the heaviest baggage we carry, heavier than divorce, heavier than aging, because regret is the grief for a possibility that died. We look back at our 20s and 30s, and we see crossroads, and we torture ourselves thinking, if I had turned left instead of right, would I be happier? Would I be richer? Would I be loved? I want to validate this pain immediately. You are not ungrateful for the life you have just because you mourn the life you lost. It is possible to love your children and still regret the career you sacrificed to raise them. It is possible to appreciate your safety and still regret the adventures you turned down. This complexity doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a woman who was finally awake. Let me introduce you to Catherine. Catherine is 54. She is a successful accountant. She has a nice house, a stable retirement fund. But she sat in my office and wept like a child. She told me I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to paint in Paris, but my father told me, artists starve. So I chose the safe path. I chose the numbers. And now I look at my spreadsheets and I feel like I sold my soul for a 401k. Catherine spent decades numbing this regret. She drank too much wine. She bought expensive clothes she didn't wear, trying to fill the hole where the art used to be. She felt like a hoarder. She looked at her safe life and despised it because it was built on fear, but one day we did an exercise. I asked her to buy a canvas, just a cheap one, and paint exactly how she felt about her life. She painted a black storm, violent and messy, and when she stepped back, she gasped because it was beautiful. She realized the artist inside her hadn't died. She was just waiting for permission to speak, and for the first time in 30 years, Catherine didn't feel like a fraud. She felt like a beginner. Catherine's story touches a nerve in all of us because we all have a version of the Paris dream that we abandoned. We judge our younger selves so harshly. We look back at the girl we were at 25 and we scream at her. Why were you so scared? Why did you stay with him? Why didn't you invest that money? But here's the truth about hindsight bias. It is a cruel trick of the mind. You are judging your past self with the wisdom you only earned because of the mistakes she made. You cannot blame a first grader for not knowing algebra, and you cannot blame your younger self for prioritizing safety over risk. She did what she had to do to survive. She did what she had to do to get you here. Alive, intact, and ready for a second chance. Let's look at another side of regret. The regret of action, the things we did that we wish we hadn't. Meet Diane. Diane carried a secret shame for 15 years. She had an affair in her late 30s that ended her first marriage. She blew up her family. She hurt her children. And even though she has rebuilt her life, she carries a stone in her chest. She told me, I don't deserve to be happy because I caused so much destruction. I am the villain in my own story. Diane was stuck in a loop of penance. She refused to date. She refused to celebrate her birthday. She was punishing herself, hoping that if she suffered enough, it would balance the scales. But suffering doesn't fix the past. It only breaks the present. One afternoon, Diane and I sat in silence and I asked her, if your best friend did what you did and spent 15 years beating herself up, what would you say to her? Diane softened. She whispered, I would tell her she has paid enough. I would tell her that she is not defined by her worst mistake. In that quiet realization, Diane dropped the stone. She didn't forget what happened, but she stopped letting it dictate her future. Diane's breakthrough teaches us something vital. Regret is often just love with nowhere to go. We regret because we care. We regret because we want to be good. But shame is a toxic fuel. It doesn't move you forward. It burns you out. So why does midlife specifically trigger this avalanche of regret? Because we see the horizon. In our 20s, time felt infinite. We could always do it later. At 50, we realize time is finite. The doors are closing. Biological doors, career doors, and that panic sets in. We feel the urgency to make sense of the path we walked. We need to know it wasn't a waste. But I want to offer you a different perspective. What if your regrets are not evidence of failure? What if they are a compass? The things you regret not doing are the things you still value. If you regret not writing the book, it means you still value your voice. If you regret not traveling, it means you still value exploration. Your regret is not a tombstone. It is a map. It is pointing you directly toward what you need to do in your second act. You cannot go back and change the choice at the crossroads. You cannot unmarry the wrong person in 1995. You cannot unquit the job in 2005. But you can grieve the unlived life. Grieving is active. Regretting is passive. Grieving means we hold a funeral for the ghost ship. We say goodbye to the version of us that didn't happen, so we can say hello to the version of us that is here. There is a powerful ritual I use to transmute this heavy grief. It involves a physical ceremony, a way to lay the ghost to rest, so you can finally sleep through the night. It is not magic. It is psychology, and it works. I have seen women walk into this ritual heavy with 30 years of what ifs and walk out light as a feather. I'm going to walk you through this ritual in the next part. It requires you to be brave. It requires you to face the ghost. But on the other side of that confrontation is peace. Deep, quiet peace. If you are tired of the 3 a.m. replay reel, if you are tired of beating yourself up for decisions you made decades ago, click subscribe right now. Hit the bell, because in the next video, we are going to hold a funeral for your regrets, and we are going to birth your new purpose. You are ready for this. I know you are. The ritual I promised you is called the funeral for the road not taken. It sounds morbid, but it is actually the most life-affirming thing you will do this year. We hold funerals for people to help us accept they are gone. But we never hold funerals for our dreams, so they stay stuck in purgatory, haunting us. It is time to bury them so you can move on. Here is exactly what you do. You are going to write a eulogy, not for yourself, but for the version of you that didn't happen. The version of you who married the high school sweetheart. The version of you who became a doctor instead of a teacher. The version of you who moved to Italy. Give her a name. Write down everything you think her life would have been. The glamour, the success, the happiness, and then write down the price she would have paid, because every life has a price. She might have been rich, but maybe she would have been lonely. She might have been famous, but maybe she would have never known the peace of a quiet Sunday. Once you have written this eulogy, I want you to go outside, find a patch of dirt or a fire-safe bowl, and read it out loud. Cry if you need to say goodbye to her. Tell her I love the idea of you, but you are not real, and I have to live in reality now. Then burn the paper or bury it. This physical act signals to your brain that the grieving period is over and the living period has begun. But we don't just bury the past, we have to mine it for gold. This brings us to the second strategy, the regret audit. Most women try to run away from the pain of regret. I want you to run toward it because inside every regret is a hidden value, a hidden desire that is still alive. Let's go back to Catherine, the accountant who regretted not being an artist. After she held the funeral for her Paris life, she stopped hating her spreadsheet job. She realized the job gave her the money to buy the best paints, to travel to museums, to take workshops. She did the regret audit. She asked, "What is the core verb of my regret?" The core verb was to create. She realized she didn't need to be a starving artist in a garret to create. She could create right now in her suburban kitchen. On Tuesday nights, she started a paint and sip club for women in her neighborhood. She didn't change her history, but she changed her destiny. She brought the spirit of the regret into her present life. And that suffocating feeling in her chest vanished. This is the secret. You don't have to blow up your life to fix a regret. You just have to honor the desire that birthed it. If you regret not having children, how can you nurture someone right now? How can you mentor a younger woman? How can you bring that maternal energy into the world? If you regret not traveling, how can you explore your own city this weekend? How can you learn a new language on your commute? The form may look different than you imagined, but the feeling, the fulfillment, that is still available to you. I want to give you a mantra for your second act. It is a phrase that has saved me on my darkest days. It is simply this: it is not too late. It is just different. The book you write at 50 will be different than the book you would have written at 20. And thank God for that. The 20-year-old didn't know anything about heartbreak, about resilience, about the complex beauty of survival. The book you write now will have depth, it will have texture, it will have the weight of a life truly lived. You have to stop measuring your life against a ruler that doesn't exist. There is no standard timeline. Colonel Sanders started KFC at 65. Vera Wang entered the fashion industry at 40. Julia Child didn't learn to cook until she was nearly 40. Your timeline is your timeline, and every detour you took, every mistake you made, was just research for who you are becoming right now. So here is your homework. After you hold the funeral, I want you to do one thing that scares you just a little bit, one thing that honors the ghost. If you regretted not being a dancer, sign up for a salsa class, not to become a professional, but to feel the rhythm in your body. If you regretted ending a friendship, write a letter, not expecting a reply, but to express the love that is still there. Action is the antidote to despair. When you move, the ghost cannot catch you. You are standing at the top of a hill, looking back at the valley you climbed. Yes, there are rocks down there. There are brambles where you got stuck. There are paths that led to dead ends. But look at where you are standing. You made it up here. You have a view now that you didn't have before. Do not waste this view. Looking down at your feet in shame, look up. Look at the horizon. There is so much sky left. Your regrets are not chains. They are lessons. They are the tuition you paid for the wisdom you have now. Do not waste that expensive education. Use it. Build something beautiful with it. If you feel a shift in your perspective today, if you feel ready to put down the heavy suitcase of what if, then you are exactly where you need to be. Share this video with a friend who is still looking back. Help her turn her head toward the future, and make sure you are subscribed to the Midlife Reset Manual, because we are building a legion of women who refuse to let the past steal their future. We are moving forward together. Take a deep breath, step into your power, and start living the life that is waiting for you.